So it's been a tough week for Keir Starmer, blimey. We'll get into the latest on his freebie row in a moment. There's also the issue of his top aide, Sue Gray, being paid more than him. So someone has leaked that she's making 170 grand a year and he's on about 167. So those claims and the fact they were leaked have thrown the Prime Minister's authority into question. And after just 76 days in office, he's had to insist he's still the boss. We're not quite at truss level, but he's only done 1.5 trusses. That's the trouble. So let's hear him speaking to BBC South East Charlotte Wright.
But clearly there are people who are very unhappy within your team, and I'm wondering whether you've got a grip on that and whether you're the one in control here.
I'm completely in control and focused, and every day the message from me to the team is exactly the same, which is we have to deliver. We were elected on a big mandate to deliver change.
Yeah, what was great about that is it was local radio's moment, good old BBC local radio, all the regions, because they were given access and they as they always do, completely.
They went for it, didn't they?
Tore them to pieces, yeah.
I mean, that was incredible. I am completely in control. Yes, I am convinced I'm completely in control. It feels like he's also trying to convince himself that he is completely in control. What's really interesting about this, and of course there is the kind of Westminster politics dynamic, Sue Gray being paid so significantly more than the Prime Minister, I think has an impact on should your bosses ever be paid less than you? But also it puts into question who is truly in charge.
But I don't know Sue Gray, but she must have a cloth ear if she doesn't see the danger of asking for money that takes her beyond the Prime Minister. I don't see how she could have done. She's not a politician, obviously, is she?
No, she's an advisor. And I think the point is you should be paid, in my opinion, you should be paid what you're worth. And we know that these people, whether it's the Prime Minister or an advisor, they could go out of the public service and be earning, like, you know, Lloyds Bank, Tesco's £10 million for their leaders.
So you mean Keir Starmer's worth more than 167?
I would say, yeah, I think our public servants don't earn. I know for most people that sounds like it's ridiculous, but I don't. I also
most
think
people on the left, I don't know if you're on the left, but most people on the
difference.
left get really cross because they say to be Prime Minister, you've got to understand how somebody in a McDonald's works. And therefore, if you're on 167, you can't.
I actually think the pay is really interesting. No. So on the whole entire scandal around Clothesgate, the fact that his wife Victoria has received a lot of these very, very expensive clothes from paid for by Lord Ali, who actually also has a number 10 pass. Keir Starmer did declare his own gifts that he received, but failed to declare his wife's gifts until very late, so after the deadline. And I think what's really interesting about this story is coming back to the Prime Minister's pay. If the Prime Minister is already wealthy in their own right, they are significantly less likely to need to take all of these different, I'm not saying they're bribes, but take all of these different gifts and it be perceived as a bribe. Rishi Sunak took almost nothing. He took, I think, Formula One tickets.
But you could say the same, that makes Trump a great president because it didn't take a salary.
I'm not necessarily saying it makes them a great president or makes them a great leader, but it does make them less corruptible.
But with Starmer, if you're going to give him the cut of the green here for a second, the fact is, as Prime Minister, let's look at the actual benefits. You've got free food for as long as you're in work. That's pretty amazing. You've got 2 houses. You've got 10 Downing Street and Chequers. You can do anything you want there. You're going to be paid, Truss is paid 160 grand a year.
For the rest of your life?
For the rest of her life for being Prime Minister for 49 days. So you'll have to, it's extraudinary.
You'll have to claim,
I know, you'll have to claim that you're using it for work purposes, but there's a way of doing that.
But also,
you're going to get, I haven't even finished. You're going to get driven around. You'll never drive a car again. You'll never have to show your passport again. You're never going to be in a queue again for the rest of your life. That's worth $1 million. That's a lot of money.
And you'll probably get 100k per speech.
Yeah, well, that's separate. I'm just talking about what the Prime Minister is actually getting as opposed to his salary.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right.
So he's very well remunerated.
The workplace benefits are a lot higher than the salary.
But if we're talking about freebies, there's a couple of points here I do think that are worth considering, which is this is 5 years, basically. So it's about 100 grand, just over 100 grand. It's about 20k a year. It's not as huge as it does seem. Also, because it's people that are currently in Parliament, it doesn't include Boris Johnson, who got over £100,000 just on accommodation. and also got 20k just for his wedding. What's that got to do with it?
All right, let's pause.
Including an ice cream van.
We're going to come back to this. Should Keir Starmer stop taking the freebies? The Prime Minister is discovering that nothing in life is truly free. His willingness to accept gifts is turning into a scandal. Do you think he should cut it out, or do you say, no, he's the Prime Minister, for God's sake? People are going to throw stuff at him. It's a controversy that's been building all week. Yesterday, the Prime Minister defended himself after he was revealed to have accepted over £100,000 worth of gifts and perks since 2019. This is what he told ITV London when asked about accepting hospitality tickets for Arsenal.
Now I'm Prime Minister, the security advice is that I can't go into the stands. Or if I did, you'd have to put so much sort of security in that it would cost the taxpayer a fortune. As a result, I've been offered tickets elsewhere in the ground where it's more secure. We don't have to use taxpayer money on additional security, and that's why I've taken the decision that I have. I think most people watching this would say, well, fair dues. I think they'd think I was pretty self-centred if I said, I'd much prefer to be in the stands, by the way. If I said, I'm going in the stands and you, the taxpayer, are going to have to pick up the tab for the security. I'm not really going to do that.
Yeah, but he could pay for the hospitality area. That's the thing. The row has caused a split in the Labour Party. MPs have reportedly described the situation as nuts and urged for freebies to be banned, and called Sir Keir an ivory tower leader for accepting gifts while cutting the winter fuel allowance. But the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, is very loyal. Yesterday told Kay Burley on Sky News that freebies, including things like tickets to Taylor Swift, were part of the job.
I think these are major cultural, sporting events. I think it's important people in public life have some connection to that they are aware of that. Of course, going to see Taylor Swift, I've never seen her myself, but I hear it's a very significant and lovely experience to do so. And I know Keir Starmer personally. I know how hard he works. If he's going to a football match or anything, to give himself a little bit of a wider life experience than just working every second. Again, I don't have any objections to that as long as it's transparent.
Well, the graph is quite dramatic, the old histogram here, isn't it? Because we're looking here, this is the election where Boris Johnson won his majority of 80. So we're going back 5 years, a whole parliamentary term, and in that time he's had 110,000, and long way behind Lucy Powell, who's Labour, and then some other, John Whittingdale's Conservative. Jonathan Reynolds, who we just saw talking there, is on here with 17,000. But over 5 years, they aren't very big figures, are they really? He's miles ahead. So how did it start? It started with the allegation that Lord Wahid Ali had been paying for spectacles for Keir Starmer and Lady Starmer's dresses as well. Keir's clothing, £16,200. He was very generous. He apparently got a pass to Downing Street as a result. The football we mentioned, £35,000 in tickets, including to the Euros 2021 final, and the Arsenal games alone, 20 grand. Entertainment, here we are, Taylor Swift herself. They got £4,000 for 4 Taylor Swift tickets. There was Coldplay involved and Adele as well, so he's been to see some nice things. You might say it's fine. 4 tickets and a dinner voucher to see a play at the National Theatre, £358. He got accommodation in the Gower Peninsula worth £4.5 grand. And finally, on the hangers here, what have we got here? Oh yeah, an oil painting by Tim Benson, £1,500. And weirdly, £350 worth of Edwyn Collins merchandise. He's the brilliant singer with the band Orange Juice. So there we are. That's the hanger. Is he going to be hanged from it, Carrie?
Well, I think it's sad that we haven't included Boris Johnson, obviously because he's now no longer in Parliament, because Boris Johnson had over £100,000 just on having accommodation.
Well, he was getting 100 grand for one night's work, Boris Johnson. After he finished being Prime Minister, while he was still an MP, he could charge £100,000 to make a speech.
20 grand, Boris Johnson, for his wedding and an ice cream van.
So he was worse.
I think it's worse, but I think that actually I don't understand. To me, it's over 5 years. It's about 20 grand a year. Keir Starmer could well afford that. So why didn't he just... All right, it opened up the door to be able to have that ticket, but why not just pay for it?
Why doesn't Keir Starmer just say, look, I'm rich, I don't care?
No, I think it's disgusting, because effectively what's happening here is it doesn't matter if you're a political figure and effectively you have that influence in government. He is the Prime Minister and he is given access for Lord Ali to number 10. That is disgusting. And the fact that effectively it's going to cost you about £23,000 if you want to get access to number 10, it's just lobbying effectively. And it vibes bad, it comes across as bad. But in actuality, what is Lord Ali doing in number 10? Why does he need number 10 pass? That's what I want to know. I want to live in a country in which democracy is actually respected and in which politicians are not so easily bought.
OK, and you can see what's happened here, that if you're an MP and you've served, let's say, for 15 years as a Labour MP, which is hard miles. You've got to go back to the constituency at the weekend, you've got to do the surgery, and you're hoping for a ministerial job. And you find this character walking up and down Downing Street with a pass to number 10 on the basis that he's bought dresses for the Prime Minister as well. That's appalling.
I would be interested to know what Keir Starmer has said about that pass, and is that normal behaviour?
It's been withdrawn now, I think.
But either way, I mean, the fact that it was issued in the first place, I think, needs an investigation to look into, because effectively what's happening is it's such clear lobbying. Now, the problem with this particular perspective is actually, I understand Boris Johnson did the same thing. I think all politicians of all colours are terrible for doing this, and I think that we should ban the politicians taking freebies. Because
wouldn't we just get rubbish politicians?
No, we wouldn't, because Rishi Sunak, because he was already wealthy, basically took nothing. He took, I think, Formula One tickets. And that was it.
Why did Rishi Sunak claim to have a salary? I don't understand. I've never understood. He was richer than the king.
Yeah, this is the point, exactly. But Boris Johnson never accused other people of being like that. I think Keir Starmer is a hypocrite, effectively, because when he was Labour leader, he went after Boris Johnson for the wallpaper in number 10. He went after Boris Johnson for taking any kind of freebie at all. And at the same time, when he is the number 10, he is taking it and giving out free passes in exchange. I think it's ridiculous.
This one of the dresses? I don't know. That's day one, isn't it? That's the morning after the election. That would be a cheek if it was. David's in Cumbria. Does it matter, though, David?
Yeah, I think it's all to do with value. I once sent back a crate of wine because I thought that was excessive. But if somebody gives you a calendar or a box of chocolates at Christmas, not a problem, because you're not going to be bought by that.
What about the Arsenal tickets one is interesting, right? He does buy his own season tickets. He can't sit in those seats because somebody might throw an orange at him.
Rishi Sunak did.
So Rishi Sunak did?
Yeah, he sat on the stalls and he had security when he went to football games. There's this thing that Keir Starmer thinks he's more special than any other politician.
I don't know. You could have someone pull a rifle out on the other side of the stadium. You'd have to really work out how to... Oh, mind you could do that if he's in a hospitality box. What do you think, David? Is the Arsenal tickets thing a problem?
If he has a box, he should pay for the tickets. And I mean, I know when we do sponsorship deals for my artists, we know exactly beforehand what the companies expect in return. So if you get clothing or hair and makeup or whatever, you know you're going to have to hashtag, etc., because that's part of the... But it's absolutely transparent what you're doing.
You're representing singers, David, or something, are you?
Yeah, that's right,
That's right. We talked before, yeah. Yeah, so Keir Starmer should go, at the end of his tweets, hashtag Arsenal. Right?
He's not this is the thing, he's a politician. He's not there to advertise those products. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored by Arsenal. I mean, it is just absurd.
It's only practical. Look, I think with his wife, I mean, I hate it when people go after the spouse, actually. I think the Dennis Thatcher was the one who kept a total. For 11 and a half years, he never said a word. It was amazing that he managed it. With probably
maybe
quite
it's because he's a man.
Strong views. Maybe. Yeah, so they go for her. What's she done? She hasn't got enough dresses of her own to do the amount of public appearances that are expected, because everyone's saying, oh, you were wearing that dress last week. Yeah. So she accepts some dresses from this character who wants a Downing Street pass, and now she's in the firing line. It does seem a bit unfair.
I do think there's also being given stuff, and then did she actually wear it? Like you said, spectacles, So are they...
I don't understand. The spectacles thing is the weirdest.
Week, I think, was
London Fashion Week, so that's...
The weirdest thing is the spectacles. I cannot... Why would you mount a freebie on the end of your nose?
But the problem is...
everyone can see it.
The problem is that they didn't declare it. That's the problem. So the reason why Victoria herself Mrs. Starmer is under fire is because they failed to declare it on time. And that's the problem.
Because he understandably thought, I declare stuff that's sent to me, not stuff that's sent to my wife.
If I'm giving a Labour lord who has donated to the Labour Party, one of the, I think it's the highest donor for the Labour Party as an individual, if I am receiving money from this person to actually be elected, if I'm giving them a number 10 pass, I have to declare anything they give my wife. That's surely the logical conclusion.
I mean, should I worry? I'm a Chelsea fan. Chelsea and Arsenal obviously sworn enemies. Should I be worried that Starmer might cancel our plans for stadium refurbishment because he's been given a hospitality box at Arsenal? I mean, I don't worry about that, but then you're making me think now. After the break, we're taking more calls. Is this just a nonsense row, a storm in a teacup, or is there something serious here that a guy who's cancelled the winter fuel allowance has let somebody else buy him hospitality tickets, free glasses, you name it? Now your calls on whether Keir Starmer is wrong to take freebies. He's accepted more than £100,000 in gifts and hospitality since 2019. Is that unfair, or do you say, no, come on, let's get real here. People are going to throw stuff at him and some of it's going to hit its target. 0207 862 2222. We have a clip now of the Labour peer Harriet Harman. Do you remember she was in here the other day? She says that Sir Keir's attempt to justify his freebies is making everything worse.
It was just a misstep. I mean, it's not a hanging offence, but I think doubling down and trying to justify it is, for some of the reasons that Ruth said, making things worse. He's not, a sort of money-focused, greedy type of person. He is a person of public service. So this is kind of slightly out of line.
That looked like their podcast. That's quite interesting that she's let rip on that. Carla in Gloucestershire, hi.
Oh, hi, Jeremy. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. What do you think? Are you unsettled by this or not?
No, not in the slightest. I think, to be honest with you, you're speaking and I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, don't look at the TV. We've got. Okay. It's the TV's a bit delayed. Hang on, I've got a thing here.
Right. Okay, lovely. I'll ignore that. Yes, I think, to be honest with you, it's a lot of ballyhoo-ha from mainly the right side, who just cannot tolerate Keir Starmer doing a good job. And I agree. Can I just mention read the fuel thing? This has just been blown up out of proportion because actually people who really need that fuel, the fuel money...
Winter fuel payment, yeah.
Yeah, it will go to them. It's just the fact that they don't know which channel to apply for the money.
Well, this is the 800,000 people who are entitled to it but haven't filled out the forms. Yeah, but why should they, is the argument.
Well, that's a good question. But I just basically they don't want it to go to the very wealthy people who have actually were asked if they would donate it. And of course, how many did that? But going back to the question of Keir Starmer, he is very sound. And quite frankly, if you compare him to Boris Blooming Johnson, who's basically, well, I can't say it because I might be had up, but...
We were heading towards an expletive there. But yeah, no, I listen,
Carla, so just a quick question. So you're saying that effectively, I agree with you on the winter fuel allowance, but you're saying that effectively it's really bad because, Boris Johnson did it anyway, and so it's fine for Keir Starmer to do it. But the point is, Keir Starmer...
Hang on, Carla, let her get to the end of the sentence.
Carla, Keir Starmer was the frontline attacker of Boris Johnson for receiving any of those gifts, and then at the same time is receiving more than any other Prime Minister in recent history. So how can we square that circle? How can we say it's okay for Starmer to do it?
Can I just say that, it would only corrupt a person.
I think you've cut yourself off. But yeah, I think I know where you're going. You've got to be corruptible to be corrupted, and he's not.
How do we know that? He's given Lord Ali a number 10 pass. How do we know he's not corruptible?
All right, thank you. Thanks, Carla. Well done. Linda in East Sussex, hi.
Hi.
You troubled by this?
Everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
What's the most troubling bit? The Arsenal tickets, the glasses, the dresses, the Taylor Swift, the Adele, the Coldplay, the stay in Anglesey or wherever it was, or the painting?
No, I just wanted to ask two questions. And one was, does Sir Keir pay tax on what he receives as gifts? I don't think he does, but I'm not sure. And the other thing is, if he's so keen on taking all these things, perhaps an answer to all of this is he should be means tested And if he financially needs the money, then he can accept it. If he financially doesn't need it, then he shouldn't. That's what he's saying to pensioners about their £300 heating.
He definitely wouldn't get through it. He would not sail through a means test, I can tell you. He is worth a lot. Because he's got a house in London and he's been the CPS, he's got a pension and he's etc.
And he earns more than £100,000 in his salary as a Prime Minister. I think it's really interesting, the perspective that actually maybe taking it away won't work, because effectively you'll end up corrupting people. The means testing argument, right, is like, if a politician is more wealthy, then they are definitely less likely to be corruptible because they have the money anyway. Sunak himself was able to, didn't take any of that kind of those kind of gifts. I think what's interesting is if it's mean tested. So the question is, should we increase Prime Minister's pay?
All right, well, yeah. What do you think so? Should we?
I think that, yes, I think we should increase their pay. I think that.
But he's still going to take the freebies.
They should get any freebies.
The thing about the richest people is they all travel on EasyJet for 20 quid. They're still going to take the freebies. They get rich by taking freebies.
I think that's the point.
It doesn't make any difference.
Understanding how it works in their circles. I think that Harriet Harman was right, though, and I think that he should not have doubled down. I think it would have been easier for him if he'd have just gone, wow, looking at that, yeah, I'll cover it. But it may end up that he does the Rishi Sunak thing, which is to have security at Arsenal, and therefore it will cost the taxpayer more.
Imagine if the security guards go with him to Arsenal and they're Chelsea fans. So that's going to be an ordeal.
Sorry for the security guard.
Well, that's the key angle. Virginia's in Lincolnshire. Hi.
Oh, hello, Jeremy. Good morning.
What do you think? Do you think he's taken too many freebies?
I think that I like Keir Starmer. I always did right from the beginning. I think he's going to do a great job. I think it started off quite badly for the Labour Party. However, I think given time, you're going to see great improvements. As an ex-ward councillor, we were allowed £25, up to £25 undeclared gifts. I think in 9 years, because the people insisted and I didn't want them, I took a bunch of flowers, some chocolates, which are shared with everybody at the community centre, and I can't remember what the other one was.
I love this. This is the key comparison. Yeah, and you've got very strict rules. If it's £26 and you don't declare it, you're in trouble.
25. So why can't? I mean, do you know, if MPs had £1,000 top, but they weren't allowed to go higher than that, and if somebody was insistent, why can't it be raffled off for charity? And smaller charities benefit from it.
Oh, you know,
food banks and all things like that.
Virginia, I'm just going to go to Pat before we have to take our break. Let's get Pat from Tyne and Weir in. Pat, what do you think? The freebies wrong?
Yes, I do, Jeremy. The last time I spoke to you was a few years ago when they took the television licence away. And you really kindly said to me, I'll pay your television. It was so nice. Anyway, you probably don't remember it.
Oh, no, yes, I do, but you refused then.
Well, I did.
You wouldn't let me.
And I'm one of these pensioners that's just over that limit for losing. But my conscience wouldn't have let me, Jeremy, because, you know, I could afford to pay it, and I will pay my electricity. But it's just his face yesterday. I just thought he looked so guilty.
Okay, Pat,
and
thank you.
I think it's a shocking start.
Thank you, Pat.
That's
Take care.
right.
Thanks for all your calls on this.